Sometimes the greatest fortune in the room is the heart no one bothers to notice. At exactly 8 o'clock every morning, employees hurried through the gleaming glass entrance of Harrison Group, one of the largest family-owned companies in the United States. Luxury sedans lined the executive parking lot, tailored suits filled the elevators, and conversations revolved around promotions, investments, and million-dollar contracts. Everyone dreamed of climbing higher, yet almost no one ever looked down. That Monday morning, a man wearing a faded gray maintenance uniform slowly pushed a janitor's cart across the polished marble lobby. His dark skin blended with the shadows cast by the towering windows, while a worn baseball cap hid most of his face. A few employees stepped around him without a glance. Others casually left coffee cups or scattered papers, expecting him to clean their mess without a word. One young manager sighed impatiently as she walked past. "Make sure this floor shines before the board meeting," she said, without even making eye contact. The man simply smiled and nodded. Of course. What none of them knew was that the quiet cleaner was Ethan Harrison, the only son of billionaire CEO Margaret Harrison, and the sole heir to the company they all desperately wanted to impress. Just 12 hours earlier, Ethan had stood inside his mother's luxurious penthouse overlooking the Chicago skyline. The city lights reflected across the floor-to-ceiling windows, while Margaret reviewed another stack of invitations from influential families eager to introduce their daughters to the Harrison heir. Ethan barely looked at them. During the past 5 years, he had dated successful lawyers, social media celebrities, entrepreneurs, and women from some of the wealthiest families in America. Every relationship had started with admiration, but somehow always drifted toward conversations about private jets, vacation homes, stock portfolios, or inheritance. He had begun to wonder if anyone even cared who he was beyond his last name. Margaret quietly closed the folder and studied her son's tired expression. "You're still looking for something money can't buy," she said. Ethan nodded slowly. "I don't want someone to fall in love with Harrison Group. I want someone to fall in love with me." His mother remained silent for a long moment before sliding a simple employee badge across the table. The badge displayed no executive title, no family name, only one word beneath his photo: cleaner. Ethan picked it up with a curious smile. By sunrise, he had traded Italian suits for work boots, expensive watches for plain gloves, and a luxury SUV for the city train. Hidden behind an ordinary uniform, he entered the company through the service entrance instead of the executive lobby. As he quietly mopped the spotless marble floor, laughter echoed nearby. A group of employees passed him without slowing down, completely unaware that the man polishing the building beneath their feet could one day own every square inch of it. And among those busy faces, one person was about to notice the cleaner for a reason no one else ever would. The morning moved quickly inside Harrison Group, but Ethan soon discovered that time felt different when people believed you were invisible. His first assignment was simple: polish the conference rooms before the executive team arrived, empty every trash bin on 3 floors, and make sure the employee lounge looked spotless before 9 o'clock. No one asked his name. No one welcomed him. To most people, he was simply the new cleaner. As he quietly worked, he paid close attention to the people around him. Expensive suits and polished smiles filled every hallway, yet many conversations changed the moment someone with less authority walked by. One department manager casually placed an empty coffee cup on a freshly cleaned table instead of carrying it 5 feet to the trash can. Another employee complained loudly because the elevator doors stayed open an extra second, while Ethan pushed his cleaning cart inside. "Take the service elevator next time," the man muttered, before walking away without waiting for a response. Ethan simply smiled again. Every small moment confirmed exactly why he had chosen this unusual experiment. Around lunchtime, he entered the employee cafeteria carrying a simple sandwich packed from home. Most tables were already full. Conversations stopped briefly, as several people noticed the cleaner searching for a seat. A few employees quietly turned their chairs away, pretending not to notice him. Ethan was about to eat alone when a gentle voice interrupted the awkward silence. "You can sit here if you would like." He looked up and saw a young woman wearing a navy blue employee badge with the name Sophia Brooks. Her warm smile carried no hesitation, no embarrassment, and no hidden agenda. Ethan thanked her and carefully placed his lunch on the table across from her. Unlike everyone else, Sophia did not ask why a cleaner was sitting nearby. Instead, she asked whether it was his first day and whether he was adjusting well to the building. Their conversation remained simple, but genuine. She laughed easily, listened carefully, and thanked the cafeteria staff before leaving with her tray. As she walked away, Ethan noticed something unusual. On her way back to the accounting department, she quietly stopped to help an older mailroom employee pick up a stack of folders that had slipped onto the floor. She smiled, wished him a wonderful afternoon, and continued walking without expecting praise from anyone. Ethan watched the moment carefully. Across the room, another woman noticed it as well. Vanessa Collins, the ambitious marketing director, rolled her eyes while speaking with several executives. "Some people spend too much time trying to look kind," she whispered with a confident smile. Moments later, Vanessa approached the beverage station and accidentally spilled a few drops of coffee near the counter. Without hesitation, she looked directly at Ethan and snapped her fingers. "Cleaner, over here. I do not have all day." Ethan calmly walked over and began wiping the floor. Vanessa never thanked him. Instead, she adjusted her designer jacket and walked away as though he had never existed. Ethan glanced toward Sophia, who looked uncomfortable after witnessing the exchange. She hesitated for only a second before quietly walking back, handing Ethan a fresh napkin and saying softly, "Some people forget that respect does not come with a job title." Ethan watched her disappear into the busy hallway, unaware that her simple words had already made a deeper impression on him than anyone inside the company ever could. Over the next several days, Ethan settled into a routine that revealed far more about the company than any executive report ever could. Every morning before sunrise, he unlocked supply closets, prepared fresh cleaning carts, and quietly walked through empty hallways while the city outside slowly came to life. By the time the first employees arrived carrying expensive coffee and briefcases, every conference room sparkled, every hallway gleamed, and every office looked ready for another successful day. Yet almost nobody noticed the effort behind that spotless appearance. Ethan noticed something else instead. The smallest moments often revealed the biggest truths. Some employees greeted the security guards by name, but ignored the cleaning staff completely. Others smiled warmly whenever senior executives passed by, but became impatient the instant they spoke to someone wearing a maintenance uniform. The difference fascinated him because it could never be hidden behind polished presentations or carefully rehearsed speeches. One afternoon, while replacing supplies near the accounting department, Ethan overheard two co-workers discussing Sophia. "She works too hard," one of them said. "She stays late almost every evening." The other shrugged. "That is because she is trying to impress management." Ethan quietly continued arranging the supply cabinet, but only a few minutes later, he saw the truth for himself. Sophia remained long after several employees had gone home, carefully helping a new hire understand financial reports that were not even part of her responsibility. She never mentioned overtime. She never asked anyone to notice. When the new employee thanked her, she simply smiled and replied, "Someone helped me when I started. I am only returning the kindness." Those words stayed with Ethan for the rest of the evening. The following morning brought another unexpected moment. A delivery driver accidentally dropped several heavy boxes near the reception desk. Employees hurried past because they were already late for meetings. Sophia immediately walked over, rolled up the sleeves of her cardigan, and helped carry the boxes inside one at a time. She laughed with the driver, as though they had known each other for years. Ethan quietly joined them, lifting the remaining boxes onto a cart. "Thank you," the driver said with genuine relief. Sophia smiled at Ethan. "Looks like we make a pretty good team." Before Ethan could answer, Vanessa walked into the lobby, wearing an elegant designer suit. She glanced at Sophia with a look of disbelief. "You really should stop doing everyone else's work," she said. "People might start thinking you belong in maintenance instead of accounting." A few nearby employees laughed politely. Sophia remained calm. "Helping someone for 5 minutes does not make my job any less important." Vanessa gave a dismissive smile before walking toward the executive elevators. Ethan admired the quiet confidence in Sophia's voice. She never tried to embarrass anyone. She simply refused to let kindness become something to apologize for. Later that afternoon, Ethan passed the executive floor while delivering fresh supplies. Through the open boardroom doors, he briefly caught sight of his mother leading an important meeting. Margaret looked directly at him for only a fraction of a second before continuing her presentation without the slightest change in expression. No one else noticed. Their secret remained perfectly protected. As Ethan returned to the lower floors, he found himself thinking less about the experiment and more about one simple question. Was Sophia always this genuine, or had he only begun to discover the remarkable person hidden behind her quiet smile? The following week brought a new rhythm to Ethan's days, and with every passing hour, his curiosity about Sophia grew stronger. He began noticing the small things that everyone else overlooked. Every morning she arrived nearly 30 minutes early, carrying the same worn leather tote and a reusable coffee mug instead of stopping at the expensive cafe across the street like many of her coworkers. Before opening her computer, she always greeted the reception staff, the security officers, and every member of the maintenance team by name. She never seemed to believe that kindness should be reserved only for people with impressive titles. Ethan found himself looking forward to the moments when their paths naturally crossed. Sometimes, she would ask how his morning was going. Other times, she would simply smile and wish him a peaceful day before returning to another stack of financial reports. None of those conversations lasted more than a few minutes, yet each one felt more sincere than countless formal dinners Ethan had attended throughout his life. Late one afternoon, dark clouds gathered over the city as most employees hurried home before the rain became heavier. Ethan was replacing supplies near the accounting department when he noticed Sophia still sitting alone beneath the soft glow of her desk lamp. Several empty coffee cups surrounded her computer, while spreadsheets filled the monitor. Curious, he quietly emptied a nearby recycling bin before asking, "You are still here?" Sophia looked up with a tired smile. "The quarterly reports have to be finished by tomorrow morning. If I leave now, someone else will have to stay instead." Ethan admired the simple answer. She was not working late for recognition. She simply refused to make someone else's day more difficult. A few minutes later, the office lights flickered as the storm intensified outside. Ethan noticed that Sophia rubbed her temples for a moment before reaching into her bag for a small framed photograph. It showed an older woman smiling warmly beside a younger Sophia. She gently placed the picture back inside her tote before returning to work. Ethan did not ask questions, but he quietly wondered what responsibilities she carried after leaving the office every evening. The next morning offered another unexpected glimpse into her character. One of the newer employees accidentally made an error in a financial summary that could have embarrassed the entire department. Before anyone else noticed, Sophia quietly corrected the mistake, explained the process step by step, and reminded the nervous employee that everyone deserved the chance to learn. She never mentioned that she had protected someone else's reputation. Watching from the hallway, Ethan realized that genuine character often revealed itself when no reward was waiting. Across the room, Vanessa observed the same interaction with growing frustration. She had become accustomed to being the center of attention, Yet more employees naturally trusted Sophia because of her quiet integrity. During the afternoon, Vanessa deliberately assigned several last-minute tasks to Sophia while making it clear that she expected everything completed before the end of the day. Sophia accepted the additional workload without complaint, thanked her politely, and immediately began organizing the assignments. Ethan saw the entire exchange and felt a quiet disappointment. Power could reveal generosity, but it could also expose pride. As the building slowly emptied once again, Ethan stood near the lobby windows, watching the rain fall across the city streets. Somewhere between his carefully planned experiment and the ordinary conversations he now treasured, something unexpected had begun to happen. He had entered the company searching for honesty, but he was beginning to fear that if he ever revealed who he truly was, the one person whose opinion mattered most might never look at him the same way again. By the beginning of the second week, Ethan had learned that every office hid two different stories. One was told during meetings, polished with confident speeches and carefully designed presentations. The other unfolded quietly in hallways, break rooms, and empty offices after everyone believed the workday had ended. That hidden story interested him far more. On Thursday morning, unusual tension spread across Harrison Group. An international client was scheduled to review a proposal that could become one of the largest partnerships in the company's history. Every department worked under pressure, and even the smallest mistake suddenly seemed important. Ethan quietly cleaned the executive floor while listening to hurried conversations outside conference rooms. Names of investors, deadlines, and financial forecasts echoed through the halls. Near noon, he noticed Sophia walking quickly toward the accounting department, carrying several folders. Her expression remained calm, but she was clearly focused. Moments later, raised voices drifted from a nearby office. Ethan continued polishing the hallway while paying careful attention. One of the financial reports contained inconsistent numbers that could confuse the client presentation. Sophia patiently explained where the calculations needed to be corrected and even prepared a revised summary before anyone else recognized the problem. The department manager thanked everyone in the room without realizing whose careful work had prevented an embarrassing mistake. Before Sophia could say anything, Vanessa stepped forward with complete confidence. "I stayed up late reviewing those numbers," she announced proudly. "Fortunately, I caught the issue before the presentation." Several executives nodded with admiration. Sophia remained silent. She did not interrupt. She did not argue. She simply organized the corrected files and quietly returned to her desk. Ethan felt disappointment settle heavily inside him. The truth had been standing only a few feet away, yet recognition had gone to the loudest voice instead of the most honest one. That afternoon, Ethan found Sophia sitting alone in the employee lounge during her short break. She looked tired, but peaceful, as she slowly finished a homemade lunch. "You seem quieter today," Ethan said gently, while replacing the trash liner nearby. Sophia smiled softly. "Not every good thing needs an audience." Ethan looked at her with genuine curiosity. "Does it not bother you when someone else takes credit?" She paused before answering. "Sometimes it does. But character is not measured by applause. Eventually, the truth always finds its own way." Her answer lingered in Ethan's thoughts long after she returned upstairs. Late that evening, when nearly everyone had gone home, Ethan quietly entered an empty conference room to collect discarded cups. His personal phone vibrated once inside his pocket. It was a brief message from his mother. "Everything is proceeding as planned. Do not interfere unless absolutely necessary." Ethan looked through the glass wall toward the darkened accounting department, where Sophia was still finishing her work under the glow of a single desk lamp. He slowly slipped the phone back into his pocket. Every instinct told him she deserved immediate justice, yet revealing the truth too early would destroy the purpose of everything he had started. As he quietly switched off the conference room lights, Ethan realized the greatest test was no longer for the people around him. It had become a test of whether he could remain silent while watching the only woman who had treated him with genuine respect continue to carry burdens that should never have belonged to her. The following Monday began with an unusual sense of urgency throughout Harrison Group. Employees whispered in every hallway after an early morning email announced that the board of directors would welcome several important investors before the end of the week. Every department was expected to perform flawlessly. Even the smallest delay suddenly mattered. Ethan quietly pushed his cleaning cart across the executive floor, listening as conversations grew more anxious with every passing hour. Before long, he noticed members of the information technology team rushing between offices, while senior managers gathered inside conference rooms. Something had gone wrong. By late morning, rumors spread that a critical financial presentation had become inaccessible only days before the investors were scheduled to arrive. Panic slowly replaced confidence. Managers blamed one another. Emergency meetings filled every available room. Ethan continued his work without drawing attention, but behind his calm expression, he immediately recognized how serious the situation could become. As the future leader of Harrison Group, he already understood the systems involved and quietly knew several ways the problem could be resolved. Still, he remembered his mother's instructions. Do not interfere unless absolutely necessary. A few minutes later, Ethan passed the accounting department and saw Sophia carefully reviewing printed reports instead of joining the growing confusion. She noticed several figures that had been backed up manually only a week earlier. Without seeking recognition, she walked directly to the information technology team and suggested comparing those printed records with archived files stored off-site. At first, several people dismissed the idea because it came from someone outside the technical department. Sophia politely explained her reasoning, never raising her voice or insisting she was right. Finally, one technician agreed to try her suggestion. Within an hour, the missing information had been successfully restored. Relief spread through the office almost immediately. Yet once again, before anyone could acknowledge Sophia's contribution, Vanessa confidently stepped into the conversation. She congratulated the technical staff, spoke as though the recovery had unfolded exactly as planned, and smoothly redirected the attention toward herself. Ethan watched everything from the hallway, saying nothing. He admired Sophia even more because she never interrupted, never demanded praise, and never tried to embarrass anyone. Later that afternoon, Ethan quietly found Sophia organizing folders after everyone else had returned to their regular assignments. "You helped solve a very big problem today," he said. Sophia smiled gently without looking up. "The company needed the solution more than I needed the credit." Ethan shook his head with quiet admiration. Not many people think that way. She placed the final folder onto the shelf and answered with the same calm honesty he had come to expect. If you spend your life chasing applause, you stop hearing your conscience. Those simple words stayed with Ethan for the rest of the day. That evening, after most employees had gone home, he entered a secure office on the executive floor using a private access card hidden inside his maintenance cart. Within minutes, he quietly reviewed confidential reports, approved several urgent decisions remotely, and instructed senior executives through secure messages without revealing his location. Before anyone arrived, he returned the access card to its hiding place, changed back into his ordinary maintenance gloves, and resumed polishing the lobby floor as though nothing had happened. Meanwhile, from the second-floor balcony, Sophia happened to glance toward the lobby and noticed Ethan standing alone beneath the bright lights after everyone else had already gone home. She quietly wondered why a simple cleaner carried himself with such quiet confidence, completely unaware that the greatest secret inside Harrison Group was standing only a few yards away from her. Friday finally arrived, and Harrison Group buzzed with anticipation from the moment the front doors opened. Elegant floral arrangements decorated the executive lobby, Fresh banners welcomed distinguished investors, and every employee had been reminded to maintain the highest professional standards throughout the day. Ethan quietly polished the last section of marble flooring while watching the excitement unfold around him. The atmosphere felt different. Something important was about to happen. Shortly before noon, an unexpected company-wide email appeared on every computer screen. All employees were instructed to gather in the main auditorium at 3 o'clock for a special announcement from Chief Executive Officer Margaret Harrison. The message offered no additional details. Within minutes, speculation spread through every department. Some believed the company would announce a major acquisition. Others whispered that a new executive leadership team would be introduced. Vanessa confidently told anyone willing to listen that she expected a significant promotion after her recent contributions. Sophia simply smiled and continued finishing her reports before carefully organizing her desk. She never joined the rumors. As the afternoon approached, employees filled the spacious auditorium, taking seats beneath the bright stage lights, while quiet conversations echoed throughout the room. Ethan remained outside in his maintenance uniform, finishing one final assignment near the entrance. Several employees walked past him without a second glance. One jokingly remarked that even the cleaners would probably enjoy the free refreshments after the meeting. Ethan only smiled politely. Moments later, his phone vibrated with a single message from Margaret. "It is time." He looked at the screen for several silent seconds before placing the phone back into his pocket. His heartbeat grew noticeably faster. The experiment that had changed his understanding of people was about to end. Inside a private office behind the auditorium stage, a tailored navy blue suit waited neatly pressed beside polished dress shoes and a silver watch bearing the Harrison family crest. Ethan slowly removed his work gloves and folded the maintenance uniform with unexpected gratitude. That simple uniform had shown him more truth in 2 weeks than years of luxury ever had. He quietly changed clothes, adjusted his tie, and looked into the mirror. For the first time since entering the company through the service entrance, the heir to Harrison Group looked exactly as the world expected him to look. Meanwhile, inside the auditorium, Margaret stepped onto the stage as the room erupted into respectful applause. She thanked every employee for their dedication before speaking about integrity, humility, and the values that had built the company over generations. Then her voice became more deliberate. "Today," she said, "I would like everyone to meet the person who will one day lead Harrison Group into its next chapter." Excited whispers spread instantly across the audience. Vanessa straightened confidently in her chair, while several executives exchanged curious glances. Sophia simply listened quietly, wondering who the mysterious successor could be. Margaret smiled gently before looking toward the side entrance of the stage. "Please welcome my son." Every eye turned toward the doorway. A tall figure stepped into the light, wearing an impeccably tailored suit with calm confidence. For several long seconds, complete silence filled the auditorium. Then recognition swept across hundreds of stunned faces at once. The man they had ignored, underestimated, and spoken to without a second thought was calmly walking toward the center of the stage, and Sophia felt her heart stop as she realized that the quiet cleaner she had come to respect had never been a cleaner at all. For what felt like an eternity, no one in the auditorium moved. The silence was so complete that the faint hum of the air conditioning seemed louder than ever before. Ethan walked calmly across the stage and stopped beside his mother, his expression unchanged from the quiet smile he had worn while pushing a cleaning cart through the same building only hours earlier. Faces throughout the audience reflected disbelief. Some employees stared at one another as if waiting for someone to explain the impossible scene before them. Vanessa's confident smile disappeared completely. She blinked several times, unable to accept what she was seeing. Every impatient order she had given, every dismissive comment she had made, and every moment she had treated the quiet cleaner as though he did not matter returned to her all at once. Sophia remained seated, her heart racing. She remembered every conversation they had shared in the cafeteria, every simple greeting in the hallway, and every quiet smile Ethan had offered, without expecting anything in return. She was not embarrassed that she had treated him kindly. She was simply overwhelmed that he had trusted her with only part of the truth. Margaret allowed the room a few more moments before speaking again. "Several weeks ago, Ethan asked me for permission to enter this company, without revealing his identity. He wanted to experience our culture through the eyes of someone with no title, no influence, and no privilege." Quiet murmurs spread through the auditorium. Margaret continued. "He cleaned your offices, walked your hallways, shared your cafeteria, and witnessed how people treat those they believe cannot advance their careers." She paused before adding, "The results have been both inspiring and disappointing." Ethan stepped toward the microphone. His voice remained calm and respectful. "I did not come here to embarrass anyone. I came here because I needed to know whether character still mattered more than status." He looked across the audience without anger. "Many of you treated me with professionalism regardless of my position, and for that, I am deeply grateful. Others measured human worth by job titles. I hope today reminds us that every person deserves dignity before they earn recognition." The room remained silent as his words settled into every heart. Margaret then surprised everyone once again. She invited several department leaders onto the stage and publicly recognized employees whose integrity had been quietly observed during Ethan's experiment. Among the very first names she announced was Sophia Brooks. Caught completely off guard, Sophia slowly walked toward the stage while hundreds of coworkers applauded. Margaret smiled warmly. "You consistently chose honesty over attention, service over recognition, and kindness without expecting reward. Those qualities strengthen this company more than any quarterly report." Sophia accepted the recognition with quiet humility, thanking her colleagues instead of speaking about herself. Ethan watched her with unmistakable admiration. Then Margaret turned toward Vanessa. Her voice remained professional but firm. She explained that leadership required accountability as well as results, and announced that an internal review would address concerns about workplace conduct and professional ethics. Vanessa lowered her eyes, realizing that titles could open doors, but character determined whether people truly deserved to walk through them. As the meeting came to an end, and employees slowly began leaving the auditorium, Sophia remained standing alone near the front row, looking toward Ethan with a mixture of gratitude, confusion, and quiet sadness. She realized the man she had come to trust had never lied about his kindness, but he had hidden the truth about himself, and she did not yet know whether her heart was ready to understand why. The days that followed changed Harrison Group in ways no policy manual ever could. People greeted the maintenance staff by name. Conversations became more respectful. Managers paid closer attention to the character behind every employee instead of only the title printed on an office door. Ethan returned to work, this time openly as the future leader of the company, but he carried himself exactly as he had while wearing the gray maintenance uniform. He still thanked the reception team every morning, still stopped to speak with the security officers, and still walked through every department instead of remaining inside an executive office. The experience had changed him just as much as it had changed everyone else. Yet one relationship remained uncertain. Sophia continued performing her work with the same quiet dedication, but their conversations became shorter. She was never disrespectful, only thoughtful. One evening, after most employees had left the building, Ethan found her standing beside the large windows overlooking the Chicago skyline. The setting sun painted the glass towers with warm shades of gold. He slowly walked beside her and broke the silence. "I owe you an apology." Sophia looked at him with calm eyes. Because you hid who you were? Ethan nodded. I never wanted to deceive you. I only wanted one person to see me before seeing my last name. She remained quiet for several moments before answering. I understand why you did it, but it still surprised me because I thought trust meant sharing the truth. Ethan accepted her words without trying to defend himself. You're right. If I could change one part of the experiment, I would have told you sooner. Sophia smiled gently. You never pretended to be kind. That part was always real. Relief slowly appeared across Ethan's face. Every conversation we shared was real. She looked at him and quietly laughed. Even when you asked me whether the cafeteria coffee was any good. Ethan laughed with her. Especially then. The distance between them quietly disappeared. Several months later, Harrison Group held its annual company celebration. This time, the atmosphere felt different. Employees from every department shared the same room without invisible barriers, separating executives from support staff. During the evening, Margaret stepped onto the stage once more. She proudly announced a new leadership development program that rewarded integrity, teamwork, and service alongside professional achievement. Then she invited Sophia forward. In recognition of her exceptional character and consistent dedication, she offered Sophia a promotion to Senior Financial Operations Manager. The applause lasted longer than Sophia expected. She accepted the opportunity with the same humility that had first captured Ethan's attention. After the ceremony ended, Ethan walked toward her, carrying a small velvet box. Smiling warmly, he said, I spent weeks searching for someone who would value a cleaner. Instead, I found someone who taught a billionaire how to become a better man. He opened the box to reveal a simple, elegant engagement ring. Sophia Brooks, will you build the future with me? Tears filled her eyes as she smiled and answered without hesitation. Yes, I will. A year later, surrounded by family, friends, and co-workers who had witnessed their remarkable journey, Ethan and Sophia exchanged vows in a beautiful outdoor ceremony filled with laughter, gratitude, and hope. As they walked hand in hand into their new life together, everyone present understood the lesson that had transformed an entire company. Wealth may open doors, success may earn admiration, but genuine kindness is what truly earns lasting love. And the greatest title any person can ever hold is simply being someone who treats every human being with dignity.